State lawmakers grilled Mayor Eric Adams about the future of mayoral control over the city's public schools. Governor Kathy Hochul supports extending mayoral control when it ends in June, but not everybody in Albany feels the same.
We're losing our talented teachers, and our students are struggling. And I ask this as a mom, how can we trust you? Why should we trust you with mayoral control?
Well, just as you are a mom, I'm a dad. And I know what we need to help our children.
Let's talk more about this. School Chancellor David Banks joining us this morning to discuss the future of mayoral control and more. So, Chancellor, great to have you here this morning.
Happy to be here.
So we'll get into more mayoral control in just a second, but I want to talk specifically about the budget, right? Because Mayor Adams restored some of the budget cuts that were expected for your agency plus other agencies, but the new budget still calls for cuts to pre-K and 3K programs. So what does that look like?
Well, listen, we're always concerned when there are any cuts. 3K, in particular, was funded in large part by the stimulus funding that we had gotten from the federal government, and there were a lot of programs that were funded by stimulus dollars. Community schools, which people are really excited about as well, largely funded by stimulus dollars. Those dollars are going away. So we've got some really difficult choices that we have to make with a finite set of dollars. So it won't be easy, but we're going to do the best that we can.
But do you think that decision will affect the vote in Albany for the extension of mayoral control?
It could, but I certainly hope that it does not. I think that that this administration has really earned the right for an extension, really, of mayoral control. You think about it. Academic performance in New York City is up. We're up 12 points in math, we're up 3 points in ELA, and we're outpacing the rest of the state. Chronic absenteeism is down 10 percentage points since we came into office. Our graduation rates, graduation rates before they had mayoral control were hovered around 50%, not around 80%. All the things that we've done in engaging and improving gifted and talented programs, putting them really all over the city, the work that we've done around the migrant crisis and how we have responded with Project Open Arms and welcoming all those students into our schools. I think we've done a great job. We've been listening to the community. We have been responding. And I think we've earned the right for extension of mayoral control.
Let me ask a silly question for those who may not know what mayoral control is, which means, really, that the mayor controls the city's school system.
Yeah, and that ultimately the mayor is held accountable for the schools.
And if it didn't vote that way, who would control the schools?
That's an open question. We're not really sure. So a lot of people are saying, we should get rid of mayoral control. We should get rid of mayoral accountability. But there are very few people that are actually offering up a real alternative. In the past, it was local community school boards. We have 32 local community school boards. Each one of them essentially controlled the schools in their district. But here's the challenge if you were to revert back to something like that. When you have migrants who come into the city, you can have a local school board which could refuse to accept any migrant students. When we were dealing with the pandemic, we were able to actually negotiate and leverage multiple city agencies to make sure that we were keeping all of our kids safe. If you go back to the old system, every district can do what it wants to do. You can't do something like NYC Reads. The work that we're doing to improve reading and literacy in New York City is because you have a mayor who's in control and can direct the rest of the system. If you don't have that, everybody else has a say, which effectively means nobody's in control.
But there are some cities that are moving away from it. So would you be willing to do something like a hybrid type of control?
Listen, I think what we hear all the time is that parents want to have more of a say. And I think that's a huge part of what we've been doing. Everything that we have done has been as a result of the fact that we're hearing from parents. When parents said we want more gifted and talented programs, the prior administration was getting rid of it. We listened to them and we responded. They asked that we change the funding formula for how the city's funding of our schools. They wanted to make sure that students who were living in temporary housing, that those schools that had a large number of those kids got more money, and kids with special needs got more money. We did that. We did that because that's what the community and the parents and the families were asking for. So we feel like we've been extremely responsive to parents and families and community. And we think that there is no perfect governance system.
You're not going to make everyone happy.
You're not going to make everyone happy. There is no perfect system, but this is as good as it gets, I believe.
All right. Yeah. Some say that mayoral, there just needs to be a checks and balances system, but you're kind of saying there is with listening to parents' input. I want to talk about school safety. We saw this big jump in weapons being brought into schools, right? And last week there was the stabbing at a high school in Queens. One of the victims had a loaded gun reportedly. Metal detectors went up in that school, but it really brought up once again this conversation of metal detectors in schools. Yes, it went into that one. Are you looking at a larger number of schools that could get metal detectors?
Yeah, we're looking at that. And those are also multi-million-dollar investments that have to be made even during some tough fiscal times.
Right.
But there's nothing more important than keeping all of our kids safe. So we're looking at that. But, you know, we've also been waiting for the technology to catch up. It's not just metal detectors. Lots of kids and parents don't want their kids walking through metal detectors every single day, but they want their child to be safe. So we've been working with a number of companies who have systems where you don't feel kind of that dehumanizing process of going through metal detectors, taking everything out of your pockets, but still being able to detect if there are, in fact, some dangerous weapons. Some of these companies are still developing that technology. Some of them are able to pick up certain things, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to pick up other things.
In the meantime, then, while you wait for that technology, how long until you see some other schools get metal detectors since they do cost so much?
Yeah, so what we've been doing is we've been doing a lot of random scanning at a host of schools. It's important to note that a school like Martin Van Buren, where we had the incident last week, has very, very few incidents. Listen, one incident is too much, but that's a school that has a couple thousand students in it. They're not high on our list of incidents that have happened. We're much more concerned with the fact that kids have such easy access to some of these weapons on the streets, and that's something NYPD it continues to grapple with, along with the mayor, and that connects to all the issues that they're dealing with, the legislators in Albany. We're going to do everything we can to keep our kids safe. We've increased the number of school safety agents that we have in our schools, and ultimately we need all of our kids also paying attention while we are trying to increase the number of metal detectors and other kinds of technology that will be helpful.
Well, Chancellor Banks, there was so much more that we wanted to talk to you about, but we've unfortunately run out of time, so make sure you come back and chat with us again soon.
Look forward to it.
Thanks again.
Thank you.